James Comey filed a motion to dismiss, to which the government replied with a spanking to say, James Comey, you should have kept your mouth shut, and maybe we wouldn't have filed these additional supplemental exhibits. The reply is the most damning piece of jurisprudence. It's not jurisprudence just yet, legalese that you've ever seen. So, as you know, James Comey has been indicted. He made a motion to dismiss the charges because, he's arguing malicious prosecution. James Comey is arguing malicious prosecution. They're going after him unfairly in a manner that they've never gone after anybody else in similar circumstances before. That's what malicious prosecution basically means. Specific, out of context or out of line with other similar circumstances. The DOJ replied to his motion to dismiss, and we'll get to the highlights of that because it's glorious. DOJ response to Comey motion to dismiss provides attachments of extensive use of Daniel Richman to leak and shape media. This is from The Last Refuge. Now, before we come back to that, you will recall, and I enjoy when I feel smarter than I am. When the first indictment came out to James Comey, it's like, all right, it's good, but I was expecting Dan Richman, the Columbia law professor, to have been mentioned in it, and he wasn't. I was like, all right, so they're just going with the slam dunk. He authorized disclosures by the FBI during the 2016 election to manufacture a narrative, whatever. I was surprised that they didn't really talk about Dan Richman, his Columbia law professor, who he was meeting with, texting with. And Richman was going to the New York Times using Comey as his anonymous source. And then Comey, the lying POS that he is, gets in front of Congress or the Oversight Committee and says that he never authorized any leaks to anybody. We'll get to that. Well, it seems that the DOJ might be, as we say in French, combler des lacunes. They are now making up for deficiencies in their initial filing, but it evolves. So the DOJ response to motion to dismiss provides a bunch of stuff here. USAO, United States Attorney's Office, Lindsay Halligan, has responded to James Comey's motion to dismiss the charges against him in a lengthy response and multiple attachments. Here, we'll get to that. I went through it, posted the highlights on our locals community, posted them on Twitter right before going live. In addition to refuting the effort by Comey's lawyers to challenge the appointment of Halligan, it's amazing. They know what they did when they broke the rules with Jack Smith. And so now they're trying to apply those same breaches of the rules, assuming their adversaries broke the rules, which they didn't. Jack Smith was never lawfully appointed. Halligan was. Okay. The USAO, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Whatever it is, you don't talk about, provides evidence James Comey's extensive use of Daniel Richman to act as a cutout for leaks and communications. Then we're going to get into the details. Multiple exhibits highlighting emails between Comey, a.k.a. Reinhold Niebuhr, and Daniel Richman, proving the former FBI director did intentionally direct Richman to contact media persons on his behalf and leak investigative background information or instruct them on information. We're going to get to this. So, James Comey, congrats. You filed your motion. Woe is me. I'm being unfairly prosecuted. And the DOJ came back, and I pulled up the highlights, and I think highlights from the government's motion right here. Okay, let's just go one by one. This was from page 4. And you're going to see this here. The defendant's correspondence with Daniel Richman and Richman's correspondence with the press regarding the mid-year exam investigation. That was when they were looking into Hillary Clinton. James Comey goes out and does his own press conference because he has to shape the narrative. He almost literally says that. If I said nothing about Hillary's emails and whatever, she would be left dangling in the wind. And so he had to go out and do something, even though he didn't have the FBI's approval to do it, in order to shape the narrative. Yeah, it was bad, but she should have been better, but not the end of the world. Remember when he did that? After the defendant sent the October 2016 letter, the defendant emailed extensively with Daniel Richman. This is defendant being Comey, a Columbia Law School professor who had also served as an FBI special government employee since 2015. Much of the correspondence occurred via the defendant's use of a personal email account and Mr. Richman's use of an email account associated with Columbia University. For example, one day after the defendant sent the October 28 letter, Mr. Richman emailed the defendant regarding the letter. Richman wrote, quote, "Make sure you keep your eyes shut. You don't want to see too much, Comey. You might be feeling a little self-harmish." I'm joking. That's Hillary Clinton joke. Richmond is literally telling Comey, shut your eyes and don't see what would be politically inconvenient for the Hillary Clinton campaign. The country can't seem to handle your finding stuff. This is between him and a law professor. Okay, cool. That's the government exhibit. The defendant replied, thanks for battling you have done against, thanks for the battling you have done against unreason. This is a strange time, but we press on. They think they're writing Shakespeare to each other. They think they're the like poets and saviors of our time. Defendant appears to have reconsidered that view shortly thereafter. On November 1st, 2016, he emailed Richmond stating, when I read the New York Times coverage involving Reporter One, I'm left with the sense that they don't understand the significance of my having spoke about the case in July. This is when he made his statement about Hillary Clinton. This is him colluding with Richmond and then basically saying, can you say this to the New York Times? Because I can't. And then he gets up in front of, I forget who, and says, I never authorized anybody to leak any information. Let's imagine the Times had a policy against writing new articles close to elections if the articles might influence the election. Consistent with that policy, they would avoid writing this week if sources told them that the FBI was looking at Huma Abedin's emails. But let's imagine that they wrote a very high-profile piece in July that sources lead them to now conclude was materially inaccurate. Would they correct it or stay silent because they have a policy to avoid near elections? I suspect they would quickly conclude that either course is an action and the choices are either reporting or concealing, but there is a longer neutral option because of the reporting in July. I also suspect they would resolve very quickly to choose the action of disclosing because to remain silent is to actively mislead, which has a wide range of very bad consequences. Why is this so hard for them to grasp? Won't someone rid me of this meddlesome priest? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Why can't they understand this? It would be great if you could tell them. All the stuff about how we were allegedly careful not to take actions on cases involving other allegations about which we have never spoken is irrelevant. I love our practice of being inactive near elections, but inactivity was not an option here. The choices were act to reveal or act to conceal. Richmond responded the next day stating, this is precisely the case I made to them, and they understood. I was quite wrong. Indeed, I went further and said a mindless allegiance to the policy and recognition that more evidence could come in would have counseled silence in July to let Hillary Rodham Clinton, HRC, twist in the wind. Richmond emailed the defendant shortly thereafter saying, just got the point home to Reporter One, probably was rougher than you would have been. I don't know if you can see this part of the thing because my face might be covering it. No, you can see it. Okay, good. Got the point across there, Master. Are you happy with me? This is when it gets really good. Listen to this. Consistent with the, let me do this. Similarly, in April 2017, the defendant emailed Mr. Richmond apparently regarding a lengthy article in the New York Times in which Mr. Richmond was a named source regarding the Clinton email investigation, the mid-year exam. The defendant wrote that he had read the piece. Thanks so much for your words and tell Reporter One he did a good job. Would be different if I wrote it, but it is by and large fair. Richmond replied, you're ever so welcome. And we'll do re-reporter. Any badly or underdeveloped points for me to work on with the New York Times or just the usual? Consistent with the above described correspondence, Richmond corresponded extensively with members of the media regarding or on behalf of defendant, including in an anonymous capacity. Oh, and then we got some correspondence between Richmond and the journalist. Richmond also corresponded with Reporter One via text message shortly after the defendant's termination as FBI director. Over a period of days beginning on May 11, 2017, the pair texted, Reporter, and wanted to push you to push JBC. That's James B. Comey. My sense from his texts is he wants this to spill. Richmond, okay, you text him and I will reach out too. Just ask the approximate date and clearance for me to talk as an anon source. These are criminals of the highest order. Let me close this one up and come back to the other ones where I'm just going to get to the evidence of him lying. There's the link to that tweet. And then let's go to and more. I believe it was this one. Just, the evidence of where he lies. Is this it? There we go. Defendant's disclosure of memoranda concerning meetings with the president and his pertinent testimony. On May 3rd, 2017, while still the FBI director, the defendant testified in an FBI oversight hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He engaged in the following colloquy with Senator Grassley. Grassley, Director Comey, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters related to the Trump investigation, the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation, or the Clinton investigation? That would be the mid-year exam. Comey, never. Grassley. Question 2, on relatively related. Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI, there's going to be the caveat, he was a special government employee, to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation? Comey. No. Comey. I'm a liar. And then later on, it's amazing. They discovered a handwritten note, which may or may not have been newly discovered, where it basically acknowledges that Comey knew of Hillary Rodham Clinton, HRC's plan to tie Trump in that Russian hackers bullshit hoax. Lied under oath, colluded to take down a duly elected president, jail. Not complicated. And Kalshi, you better honor that market, because he was damn well arrested, at least under your terms, and the indictment's only getting worse. And Comey is only getting in deeper and hotter water. And the amazing thing is, you read all of that now, and I made the comment, and I don't like making these comments because I don't like putting bad juju in the universe. This is evidence to me that Comey had intent when he published that Instagram 8647 post. This is intent. This is motive for the threat. Because this is the last thing that Comey ever thought would happen, because Hillary Clinton was supposed to win in 2016. And none of this would have come to light. Joe Biden or Kamala Harris was supposed to win in 2024, and none of this would have come to light. And that stupid SOB criminal bastard gets out there and says 8647. Now you understand why he had the motive to actually put out a public dog whistle of a threat to Donald John Trump. And that's about all I have to say about that.